enjoy that with family and friends wherever you work. And apologies to our marketing department, this is not the newest PowerPoint template I've been told.
I was just noticing that.
So I get no credit for upgrading to version 2.0 when version 2.1 exists, but we'll push forward anyway. Quote for this meeting: "You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete." From Buckminster Fuller. Special thanks to Ron Rowden, who sent that over to me a while ago, and I promised him I would steal it for this meeting. The Ascension vision statement: be a leading insurance and benefit solution provider by combining large-scale resources with customization and personal attention. Differentiate on value creation by having the most innovative and compelling approaches, the highest level of service, and the strongest team. Something we read each month. And why is that important? Just a little note on vision and why we consider this important. It really is what sets our strategy. It's what we should strive to live up to. Some of it is aspirational. Some of it we accomplish on a daily basis. But it really answers two questions. Who do we want to be? And you look at what the vision statement is, it says we want to be national in scope. We want to be robust enough to meet the demands. We also want to have personal and local resources. So we want clients need to know that we're there for them, even if we're not in their exact locale, but that we're able to provide services no matter where they are, no matter where we are. It also says how are we going to grow and support our current business. Our emphasis being on providing innovative solutions, which means leveraging our expertise that we have with creative thinking, including technology, but not exclusive to technology. Highest level of service. We want to deliver consistently, show the clients we care about their needs being met and that we're exceeding their expectations, and that we have the best team. We want to build the best teams, and we want to continue to invest in the people that are a part of our team. So the agenda for today, we're going to talk a little bit about the structure within ACS, some strategic planning, sales and growth, claims administration, financial update, and ABCDs. So a lot of talk within the leadership and really feedback from the staff was about our organizational structure within ACS, how we've grown over the last several years, how we've further integrated several different companies and the legacies involved, and how we're actually positioning ourselves to be successful going forward. And really came to light or a consensus within the leadership group that we needed to have a firmer and more clear structure. That was really going to set the platform for how we grow as a team. And why I think structure matters is because I think leadership needs to put the team individually as team members and collectively as groups in position to be successful. People need to know who is leading the charge for their function or department and who they have to go to for support and guidance. And the structure in place needs to be mindful of enhancing effectiveness as well as facilitating feedback and development opportunities for staff. You'll hear me repeat that last comment a bit because I think it's something that's really important that we talk about, but if you don't have the right structure in place and the right feedback loops, you don't really accomplish it. And it's something that I think is particular to Ascension that we want to have that be a big focus because of how important our people are. We talk about that a lot. Our people are what makes us different, so we want to make sure we're supporting them the right way. And to me, that starts with the leadership structure. So there are, a few changes that we're going to go through, and why are we talking about these changes at this point in time? It's because we've grown in many ways over the past few years, but we're looking to position ourselves for even greater success and make sure that we can accommodate that. Having a real strategy for growth and continued growth means we need to recognize the scope of services we can offer, the opportunities that exist if we remain agile and flexible to those different opportunities. Furthering integration, it requires us to address the resource alignment and how we look at the different units within Ascension Collegiate and how they interact with each other. Also a big note over the past several months, if not longer, improving the ties between the sales and the service, making sure that we understand what the value proposition we have to offer is, and making sure that the sales team is in position to promote that and the service team is in position to live up to it. And then lastly, as I said, I would repeat this, improving development opportunities for staff. It's something that, something that I would be able to focus more on personally, but I also think all the leaders within our organization take to heart and want to make sure that we're listening to the team members about what their goals are. We're creating opportunities within Ascension so that it can be a great place for everybody to work. So one thing I've developed over the last year within Collegiate Solutions is this executive operating committee. It includes myself, Jim Yankich, one of our newer hires, Krista Stanek, Larry Beavers, Marcos Rowland, and Michael Babor. And thankfully, we also have participation often by Ed and Jamie, Nick and Tom as well, to talk about strategic initiatives, talk about the big issues, what might be going on in the different areas within Collegiate Solutions, and really make sure that we have a venue to talk about potential opportunities, problems that we may have to overcome, and just sort of the state of Ascension Collegiate. And we meet once a week, and then we're also meeting on a quarterly basis, face-to-face, going forward to really make sure that not only have we set the right strategy, but as you'll see down the line in this presentation, that we're evaluating where we're at and talking about our successes and talking about where we may have to make some improvements. Talking about some changes to the leadership structure, but the main changes within here, within this leadership is that when I accepted the role of president, I was challenged to create the structure that would allow me to focus on improving the business rather than just working in the business as I had for the last 14 years, and develop a real model for our leadership structure that improves the support and leadership for the teams and individuals. Krista Stanek is being promoted to a role to leverage her experience with client service, sales, and market relations. So rather than just being the sales leader really for ACS, with focusing on Overland Park and Salt Lake City, overseeing our client services for the organization, working very closely with the resource group and the teams, and especially Jim Yankich in his role for client relations, lending her experience with the business of insurance, if you will, as well as a lot of different specialty lines to augment what Jim has when it comes to client perspective and his student health experience. And then Michael, as our sales leader, leading the sales strategy and directing and managing the producer teams for ACS, providing guidance and mentorship, promotes a consistent approach to the market and a strategy that leverages all of our expertise as well as the evolving needs of colleges and universities to really creating a sales structure for one Ascension Collegiate Solutions sales team. Talk a little bit about the leadership reporting structure, because I think it's important for you guys to all understand that and really see what we're building here and what we've built. So in my role, I want to provide executive leadership in growing the business and creating an Ascension that clients and colleagues never want to leave. That sounds a lot easier than it is, I'm sure. Direct reports now would include Marcos Rowland and Larry Beavers, overseeing the administration and operations, client services, Krista Stanek, and sales, Michael Babor. I guess I put this in alphabetical order. So Jim Yankich, Senior VP of Client Relations, focused on enhancing our visibility with current as well as prospective clients, promoting our thought leadership while improving our consulting approach and relationships, in directing our accounts team. The direct reports for him would be the account executives and managers within ACS. Krista Stanek, in her role as Executive VP Client Services, focused on improving our client services process and the team, driving innovative solutions, coordination with new and renewing clients, upholding our ability to deliver on our value proposition. And one thing that you'll see, again, Krista in this role, great experience as a sales producer and a sales leader. There's overlap between sales and service intentionally because they need to be working together in order to really promote what we are. So there needs to make sure that there's good coordination in how the service team and the sales team are working, and that's part of what I think Krista can help do, and really what our entire leadership team is focused on. So direct reports for Krista will include the analytics team, Valentina, client relations, Jim Yankich overseeing that, compliance, Helene, implementation, Cindy, and marketing, Denise, and her team. realize on this, it's not listing every individual. One of the things that we're working on is an organization chart that includes every individual within ACS. I actually intended to have it as a follow-up to this meeting, but for one reason, I'm not as good at Visio as I thought I was, so it's getting hard to put everybody onto one sheet. The other reason is we have had some recent departures in Salt Lake City, and then we've also made some movements of folks on the claims administration side as the workload has sort of changed from claims payments to claims customer service. So I want to make sure we have those kind of nailed down and what those roles are going to be before we do the org chart. But it is my intention to, put on the intranet and let you all see the org chart for all of ACS. And I think you'll might be interested to see how many folks we have and what they're doing and where you sort of fit within the entire organization. There shouldn't be any surprises for anybody that's been moved around. We've had one-on-one conversations, so we've really talked about, what that's going to mean going forward with each individual. But, I do think it's good to have that sort of clarity, and I want to be able to provide that to you. Larry Beavers, Director of Operations, focused on administrative services and customer support, management and support for the Overland Park, Salt Lake City unit teams, direct reports including claims examiners, claims specialists in Overland Park and Salt Lake, client administration, and then client service specialists and claims customer service. Marcos Rowland, TPA Operations, focused on administrative services and customer support, management and support for the Agora and LA unit teams. Direct reports include business analysts, claims specialists in Agora Hills, claims service specialists in LA, the enrollment and premium administration departments as well. And then Michael Babor, focused on driving growth through business development, executing sales strategies, and mentoring the producer team. The ACS sales and producers will be reporting to Michael. Just a few notes on this and again, why we made some of the changes. Got a lot of feedback from team members that identified a need for clearer, more defined leadership and roles, particularly, as I mentioned, to make sure people knew who their go-to was for support and who was accountable, to different areas within the organization. We wanted to make sure that we were providing more feedback to employees and facilitate the continued integration of ACS. So in some ways being very mindful of how many direct reports people have and to make sure that there's intermediaries between some of the senior leadership and the staff, as well as growth opportunities for the staff to step into new roles, to learn new skills and be a part of the larger organization. It's important to me that leaders are accountable to their teams, not the other way around. Excuse me. A lot of good quotes you can find about what good leadership is. I think this one is good. So leadership is unlocking people's potential to become better. Former U.S. Senator and noted Princeton basketball player Bill Bradley. So some of the movement of teams and departments that we've done, really looking to further integrate our services and align our resources. One in particular is the continued integration of our administrative services and understanding that it's kind of a third-party administrative service that we provide in many capacities, far beyond just claims payment. So, for example, looking at enrollment and premium as part of our TPA services is really in recognition to the fact that our model has changed to grow and encompass services that we provide other major carriers like a Blue Cross, Blue Shield in various states, where we're not paying the claims, but we're providing, in their respect, a TPA service. So folding that in, I think, will help us better grow our business and really be intentional about leveraging our experience and the tools that we have to sell ourselves in these new situations. So again, follow-up to the structure will be a complete org chart, and everyone can be fascinated with how I diagram that out. I'm sure it will be a little bit messy. But again, the goal is to provide clarity and understanding of where we are as an organization, where the potential is, and really make sure that everyone in the team understands not only what their role is, but what it could be as they continue to grow. One thing we've also talked a lot about, again, as we're wrapping up this year, looking forward to the next year, is strategic planning. And just want to talk a little bit about strategy and let you know that I actually understand what strategy is. There's a definition from Webster's, one of the best dictionaries out there, if you ask me. A plan, method, or series of maneuvers for obtaining a specific goal or result. That's the definition. So great. What does that mean? It means we have to really be intentional about what we want to accomplish and then decide how we're going to get there. So laid out a few steps, several steps. One is identify the goals. If you don't know where you want to go, you're never going to end up there. I'm sure Yogi Berra said something of that respect at some point. Identify the goals. Next is identify the strategic initiatives and what we try to break down and how we're going to reach those goals, what we're going to focus on. And a lot of that is prioritization, because you cannot just be scattershot and focus on every little thing that might make better. You really have to be focused and decide, all right, this is what we're going to emphasize. Step 3, execute. So the hardest part, right? But that's the key part, is execution. Step 4 and 5, I don't want to get lost though, because you have to continually evaluate where you are, how successful you've been, what some of the misses you might have had are, and how you can improve. And then after that evaluation, you better adapt. You can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again, regardless of results. So step 4 and 5, kind of a continued cycle. So we've laid out a strategic overview, and again, when I send out the org chart, I want to send this out to everyone as well. You can take a little more time looking at it. Very similar to what we provided last year as well. We've got our core values and beliefs, which really ought not to change. We've got our brand promise, similarly our strategic statement, and sort of the critical numbers that we're looking for. Really focused on how are we going to keep our clients happy, how are we going to grow the business, how are we going to retain our current block of business, and then what the sort of goals are for our profit margins, which is obviously very important, but also our colleague net promoter score, which rates how satisfied you are with being a part of Ascension. It's also very important. Some of the goals of where we're at, you can see highlighted in the financial target. Looking at it through the future period of year-end 2019, and then also just for the future year coming up, again, tied into what we want to see of retention rate of 95%, organic growth of 6%. That's kind of where we'll end up being if we hit those numbers. But I think what's probably most important is looking at what we consider the key thrusts of how we'll be successful over the next few years. Continuing to build that high-performing One Ascension team, improving our organic growth, increasing our specialization, which means really stretching ourselves into what we can provide and what different niche markets we can get into. Continue to provide that world-class service and support, and create highly efficient processes with better tools and technology. For 2017, we really want to focus on building our team, driving sales, focusing on the account management, services administration, technology, and really what we can do within operations and finance. And again, I'll send this out to everyone on the team as well. But really trying to make sure that you all understand that these are the things that we're emphasizing, and they're all very important. And the team aspect is what's going to make us better, because so much of this business is relationship driven, as well as the people that are actually working on behalf of the clients. Sales, continuing to work to improve our sales process, not just to achieve those great sales results, which we've had the last few years, but also the system by which we do that so it can be consistent. Account management, bringing Jim in this summer was a big part of that, recognizing that we can improve our client relations and the way that our clients perceive us, and continue to work on that as well. Services and administration, a lot of that is built on continuing our technology build, so we can have services on demand for our clients, as well as looking at other services and administrative services in particular that we can provide either current clients or sort of new types of clients. Technology, I think we've got a great technology team here, and I want to continue to leverage that to build out new tools. We've certainly seen in the last year or two that our new technology has allowed us to not only retain clients, but also get new clients and have us be viewed by folks such as Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan as kind of a premier partner for them. So that's been great. And then operations and finance is all about, better understanding where our business is and what we can do to make significant improvements. So in a nutshell, the 2017 strategy is designed to move us closer to achieving our vision. It's focused on 3 primary elements to make Ascension better for our clients and our colleagues: technology and innovation. As I said, leverage the current technology we have and continue the improvement, process improvement, continuing the integration, improving the workflows and communication, and tracking our progress, and our people, showing our clients how much we care while we develop and celebrate our team. The sales and growth, I think Krista is out as well, and I know that Michael is actually out on a meeting trying to achieve some new sales for us, particularly in the claims administration side. So I'm going to take over and do a second-rate job, I'm sure, at describing the new sales dashboard for our team. But as you can see, we've got about $2.25 million in new business sales for 2016. Not a lot of opportunities left for us in our market segments as we get to the end of the year, but that's in excess of what our goal was for the 3rd year in a row. So that's great. We're also already started to build out a pipeline, as you can see, but we've still got a lot of work to do with that. And again, a really successful year when it comes to new sales, not only in the fact that we hit our number, but we did it from a number of different producers, including some of the newer producers on our team, as well as continue to grow in a new market segment. A lot of that ACS house of over $1 million is from the international student exchange market, which we're really just closing in on our 18th month of being in. So we've kind of taken that from $0 to over $1 million new business, and as well as growth from some of our strategic partners that we have. Some of you are familiar with the Firebird block, a group in Washington and Oregon of community colleges, so we're continuing to grow that business as well. And again, just a great year when it comes to new sales. We should all be proud of it. The renewal block dashboard, I think as we know, when you look at the far right, there is some non-renewal confirmed. A lot of that is the UC business and some of the other larger accounts. So on its face, really not the best year for us when it comes to renewal and renewal revenue. It's one of the things we'll talk about a little later is that when you've got some really large, humongous accounts, they can have an adverse impact, obviously, to your business when you lose 1 or 2 of them. And we've also, distort may not be the best word, but it can also somewhat distort your actual results and how successful you've been in retaining a lot of your clients. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit further along. This number, and I was talking or exchanging emails with Ruth in the Overland Park office just before this meeting. So I think we've got this number a little better to what it is, but I think there's still some gaps in here, mainly because of how some of this revenue is posted. But we do think that there's a little left outstanding for us to renew. Ultimately, I think what we're going to end up is probably close to something of an 85% to 90% renewal on this dashboard. And talking about sales and the vision of sales, I mean, this is a kind of a precursor to a deeper dive that I know that Michael wants to lead in a future meeting. But one of the things that he's been focusing on is setting a strategy that really looks at us as one dedicated sales team across lines of business. While you still have specialties and we have expertise in different areas, we want to really approach the college and university market cohesively. So working together as a unit, resulting in increased new business growth for each individual producer and the collegiate division as a whole. They're going to accomplish this by bringing the ACS producers together into one team to integrate the prospecting of all higher education insurance products. That should help us strengthen our brand, increase the number of schools we touch, and ensure that producers are being managed effectively and consistently by bringing them all under one sort of roof, if you will. And really, again, emphasizing the fact that we're not just out there selling some specific product, whether it's student health or intercollegiate sports, accident coverage. We're really focusing on what we can offer as consultants and as administrative solution providers. So really getting to know the schools, understanding their needs, and then being responsive to that, not just going out there with a policy in your back pocket and saying, don't you need this type of policy? I think that's what's, hopefully going to separate us. And this is actually the second bullet point, differentiating Ascension through consultative solutions-based selling and a strong presentation of our value proposition. And then successfully marketing ACS products and services to the higher education marketplace, leading to consistent new business growth among the producers. So really having a cohesive approach to the market and how we talk about our brand, how we talk about the value proposition we have to offer, and how we talk about how we can solve their needs. A key component of that is really what we've recognized, as I just mentioned, on the international exchange market and other opportunities within the TPA expansion for us, because it is something that we offer that most of our competition does not. In the international exchange place or marketplace, in 2015, we wrote $375,000 in new revenue. That was the first year, or even really half year or partial year, that we had access to carriers who wanted to write in this market, and we're working with people who were already involved in that market. In 2016, about $800,000 in revenue. So again, over $1 million in new revenue in the last 18 months for this new market segment. And this is our activity as a claims administrator for these policies. We've added about 36,000 new lives in our claims system. And overall, that still represents, basically 10% of the number of lives of folks that are coming over every year in these types of programs. So there's a lot of opportunity there. Working in that market with a Lloyd's of London syndicate, Advent, through one of our US-based partners, Fairmont or Crum & Forster. We've also started having conversations with other Lloyd's of London syndicates who are interested in writing this type of coverage. Coverage lines including the inbound internationals, whether it's some of our traditional student business or this international exchange, cultural and work exchange business, which includes au pairs, interns and trainees. There's a large segment of high school exchange and short-term work and travel, as well as in some areas some occupational accident coverage for those folks who don't have to be covered by a worker comp plan, but the employer does want to provide an accident plan for them. Another area for TPA expansion we see is self-funded for intercollegiate sports athletic programs. We currently provide the claims administration for nearly 30 schools in their self-funded intercollegiate sports program. Self-funding of these programs is quite common, especially for NCAA schools, because the NCAA provides catastrophic coverage for all their members. So what they're really providing is a basic level of coverage. So it's with a defined sort of cap. So a lot of the schools understand that they can better handle that just by self-funding as opposed to buying an insurance product. But in that case, then they typically have to use a third-party administrator as well. So there's an opportunity for us. And then expanding the definition of TPA, which I somewhat alluded to, and how we're shifting some of the structure. Understanding that a lot of our legacy TPA had meant just claims administration. Particularly, at least out here in LA, with the difference between the LA office and the Gore Hills office. But I really think as we've continued to grow and as the market has evolved and we've had new partnerships, whether that's with Blue Cross Blue Shield Nebraska or Michigan or Kansas City, we can look at us as a TPA that's beyond just claims. I think that will make us give us more opportunities out there. So this front end, as some have called it, and enrollment services for the Blues is just one example where we can market ourselves as a TPA to these entities. So I think that's going to be, a way, again, that we can continue to grow our business. And this is also, something that Michael wanted to go into more detail with. He's putting together a presentation. I'm sure he'll do a much better job than I just did. But again, it's just focused on giving you more insight in what we're working on to really continue to grow this business. And now I think I get a little bit of a break, perhaps. I think Larry is going to step in and review the claims administration dashboard.
Thanks, Neil. You get a little bit of a break. This isn't going to take a long time to cover.
I think it's probably more important that everybody else gets a break from hearing it.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Consistent screen or slide that you see from month to month. The good news is the results also continue to run consistent. Points of interest with regard to the claims side of the house in October. Average service days being at 7.97, still a really solid result. We had a number of schools that came on board in September, so we started seeing an influx of claim activity during the month of October. In fact, claim volume was up about 110 claims per day over September results. And then from a phone customer service standpoint, very, very pleased to see us at 37 seconds for the month. After the, if you recall the September results, our speed of answer was in the tank. In fact, we improved by 39 seconds in that area from a speed of answer standpoint, and abandonment rate improved by 2.8%. So kudos to the customer service team, the folks here in Overland Park and at Bora Hills. And then I want to send a shout out really to the claim examiner team and the admin team for staying on top of claim activity for the month of October. It really positioned us quite well as we came into November. We were really solid for last week during the holiday. So thanks to everybody for their efforts. Other than that, we are good and we're ready to keep rolling. So Neil, I'll kick it back to you.
All right, and then just again, great job by the claims team. This is pretty consistent. We've had some bumps here or there, largely due to absences or departures. Just a great overall job, and I think it's important for you to see or know as well that we look at these numbers on a weekly basis and accumulate them on a monthly. The point is that we want to be data informed so we understand what's going on and we can better structure our team. Marcos and Larry are very tied to the staffing for the claims admin operations, and they've made some adjustments recently to move some of the claims examiners over to a customer service role because of those needs. But we don't run this all just by these metrics and numbers. We also depend on feedback from the staff, whether that's from the claims side or from the account management side or where people are hearing things. And we want to make sure we're doing what we need to service the clients well. So that's, again, why the feedback loop between leadership and the staff is important. If there's things that are happening that aren't going as smoothly as they should, we want to continue to hear that and we want to have a way to address it as well. So. Moving on to the financial updates, briefly talk about where we are, full year forecast versus the budget and the prior year. We're currently forecasting revenue of $17.3 million. We had a budget of 18.6, prior year 17.6. So obviously that's a dip there largely again because of the lost accounts. Nothing really new has changed since we started factoring those in. The EBITDA, which as often said is a fancy word or acronym for profits, forecast of $5 million on budget of $6 million. Again, largely just driven by the lost business. There's still some opportunities there, I think, to create some savings that we haven't recognized yet. We kind of pushed because we want to be somewhat conservative about that. It's part of the accounting principles we have. We can't take all of our savings for granted until we're sure that it's not just a timing impact or that something else is going to come back around. But, again, that's really just driven by the lost business that we had. That, again, when you look at some large accounts that come on board and then go away, that can impact your numbers. So that's really something I wanted to lay out for you in this chart. This shows really from 2012 to current forecast 2016 where the ACS revenue and EBITDA has been. And you can see that there's reflecting here is the actual revenue. And then what we did is we took out the impact of the UC because often heard about how that has been very impactful, right? The loss of the UC is impacting ACS. And at some point, the gain of the UC back, really had a large growth for 2014 in particular. But when you take out the impact, both the positive and then the negative with the loss, you can see kind of where we are and how we've kind of steadily grown a little bit, if not, at least kind of maintained and stayed flat. So the reason why I want to look at that is because I think those UC larger accounts, while they're great when they come in, they were highly political and volatile, and we knew that. So while I was happy to have them come back because it created some great opportunities for us, and obviously, we were expecting to be able to retain them, and while losing them hurts, it really kind of doesn't tell the whole story of what ACS has been able to do over the last several years. And while these numbers are, relatively close just by the nature of the bar graph, if you exclude the UC and take out those adjustments from 2012 to 2016, our revenue has increased by a little over 21%. We've had growth outside of that again of an average of about 5%. So not where we want to be really. I'd rather have that be growth, be over 6%. But and realistically, it's gone down. In 2013, we had growth of nearly 8%. 2014, it was 6.3. 15, 4.5, and 2016, closer to 1.25. So it's flattened out, and that's really been indicative of some of our retention issues that we've had. It's a very difficult environment in that, and so we've made some adjustments, both in our staffing and bringing in a Jim Yankich, as well as the structure to really make sure we're improving that retention and getting back to, what would have been kind of a traditional retention rate for us in the mid-90s. And I think we can do that, on a going forward basis. If you look at the EBITDA outside of the UC, we've had some good growth as well. In 2014, we had, dramatic growth outside of that. I think that was probably tied to Nebraska and some other big wins that we had of over 58%. 2015, though, it kind of flattened out to under 3%. And 2016, it's going negative a little bit. Some of that, or a lot of that in 15 and 16 has to do with the investments that we've made, that we're reinvesting this revenue into something that we believe is going to make us stronger going forward. But again, looking at sort of the average outside of that, and we have over 10% growth between, I think that's average. Well, it's average, but it's really distorted from 2014 being large. But from 2012 to 2016, our EBITDA has increased by more than 31%. So we're on the right track, is my point. It may not look like it every month, every quarter, or in this case when we have, what are large unanticipated losses, from year to year. But when you look at how this business is running, I think it's also important to see what sort of trend you have. And the underlying trend is, outside of these explosive wins and losses of the UC, we've had consistent growth. I think the growth that we're continuing to build is going to be more of that kind as well. But at the same time, we're not quite where we want to be because it has somewhat flattened out. So the focus on, how we're going to retain our clients at a higher level and how we're going to continue to grow business at a higher level is really driven to make sure we're not just kind of flattening out, but that we're getting back on that upward trend. And now we have ABCDs, and I happen to be sitting next to someone who's getting an ABCD. But just as a reminder, ABCD is our time to put a spotlight on an ACS employee. Bottom line, we owe it to our clients, our team, and ourselves to try to do our jobs exceptionally well all the time. We also owe it to each other to recognize and show appreciation when a colleague goes above and beyond. So please send the ABCD nominations to Team ACS at ascensionins.com. And I want to thank Isaac for being the first individual, I believe, to send an ABCD nomination to that email. We'll see if anybody does it this time following the meeting, because I believe it came in about 5 minutes after this meeting closed last month. So this goes to Julie Sinatra. Julie is in the LA office, and Isaac wrote, I'd like to suggest Julie Sinatra for recognition. The enrollment admin team recently had a team member who was let go unexpectedly. This left a desk full of work that needed to be completed. Julie dove right in to prioritize and complete the workload. In some cases, the work was behind schedule, so Julie put in a lot of extra hours and effort, not only covering the desk, but also focusing on getting the desk caught up. She's maintained her own personal workload at the same time, and on top of all that, she is training the replacement enrollment admin, and also myself, speaking for Isaac, as a backup. This is impressive in itself, but she has also done it all with a positive attitude. A coworker like this is worthy of recognition. I'd agree. Thanks for your consideration from Isaac.
Yay!
And that is all I have for this month. I'm not sure if that slide transition meets the marketing standards. Onward, upward, and forward. Take care, everybody.
Thanks.